All right, guys. We got an '09 Honda Civic here. We got a small little minor leakage in this caliper, but you don't want to play around with something like this. Anything that's brake related, I'm really serious about. So we're gonna replace this guy. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take off this bolt. It's a 14 millimeter. This looks like a 12, but if it's a 12 or 11, we'll figure that one out. We're also gonna slip this out, and there's two bolts back here if you need to remove these, because sometimes this bracket doesn't come with the caliper. The caliper's on the way, and then you got two bolts on the bracket, which are probably like 17 millimeters. We'll figure that one out too. We got a 12 millimeter if you need to remove this. And what I like to do is I like to pinch the line. Don't worry about it. A lot of people, they will comment, oh, that's not a good idea to do so. You don't want to go crazy and pam, squeeze the crap out of this line either. So just be gentle with it. And a lot of people that will criticize, but behind your back, looking this way, they will do that, okay? So don't worry about that. And there's two small little washers here, crush washers. Make sure you pay attention to that. Make sure you grab those two. And the reason why is because it's going to come with new ones. So if it comes with a new bolt, you reuse it because it's a different bolt than these regular bolts. Let's get this job going, okay? So let me start removing stuff, and the caliper is on the way. So first thing first, let's squeeze this line. Too tight. Okay, too tight. Too tight. Too tight. I just don't want to kill the line. So that's that. What we're gonna do is while we're here is remember that little line, the bolt I showed you. If you can see right here. My camera probably not gonna stand still. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna loosen this up just in case. It's a 12 millimeter. You might not have to, but just do it anyway. Just let's loosen this up for now. That's that. We're gonna come back out. We're gonna come back on this side. I'm gonna make this job good as possible for you guys. So while this caliper is held, you also want to take a number 12 and you want to break loose this little guy, and I like to tighten it back up a bit so it doesn't drip, even though we pinched the line a bit. But anyways, time to take off these two little guys, and let's see how the rest of the job goes. What I want to do is, before we do anything further, I do want to take off this bolt I just showed you completely. And there's also one more bolt down here that holds this E line here. Emergency cable right there. You can see it right there. It just sucks to put the camera in here. I'm gonna take that off as well, and that's gonna give me more flexibility in the line. So I'm gonna remove both of these. I'm gonna just take them off completely, especially this E cable here. So this is the bolt that's holding this line down here. Okay, there you go. And did not take off the other one yet, so we're gonna leave that one alone. Next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna loosen up this 14, and there's one on the top here. So both of these bracket bolts has to be loosened up. Okay, so I'm using a 14 millimeter here to loosen both of these up, and there goes one. Okay, that's one of them. Keep them in order. They're different than all the other bolts. And this little guy comes off. Once you take these off, remember that little line I told you, the bolt for the cable here? I'm gonna remove that as well from back here. We had it loose already. Okay, did I get that? Nope. There you go. So that's the 12 millimeter. That's the line I showed you, the E cable and the other two lines. So now we should be able to get this. Okay, we should be able to move this caliper and take it off nicely and easily. If you need a pry bar, use a pry bar to get this guy off. So let me get a pry bar or something in that manner. I went and got a flathead screwdriver to push this guy off. So we're gonna reuse the brakes. This probably come new with the brake caliper. let's get this guy off as well. So there you have it. Everything is nice and loose. And what I want to take off next is, I'm not sure if this letter, let's bring the camera a bit down. Okay, that's the furthest it's gonna go. I'm not sure. Okay. I was saying I'm not sure if this bracket would come with it, but if you use a cutter, you should be able to, even a needle nose will do for you. You should be able to remove this little retainer just like that. It should come right off. And if you need to, we'll take off the 12 millimeters. Other than that, we should be able to, we got to get this off, okay, because this is not going to be part of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to take off the two little bolts back there. It's going to be tough with this caliper wiggling around. Maybe we'll put it back up. Not sure how that's going to work out for me or you. Okay, maybe impact will do, so I'll get an impact and that should loosen up. Okay, and that's gonna be the way. Okay, that is gonna be the way. Without taking off the two bolts, I figured out another way to do this. You're gonna take your screwdriver, you're gonna get it in that position right there, and you're gonna wiggle this guy right off. Okay, now this is not gonna come out that easy from this end, so you're probably gonna have to tap on it really well. Let's come back out with our caliper and everything. Okay, so it's tough to see. There you go, that's better. 1, 2, 3. There's my light, super bright. And over here, it is kind of gonna be jammed in here, so you're gonna have to break the grip loose by vibration. And eventually, this guy will start to come out. You don't want to bang on the rubber area of the line. You will damage it. And there it is. There it is. Okay. It's coming out. Sometimes things just doesn't go your way, but nothing ever will in mechanic field go your way. Okay, some WD-40 might help us over here, but there you go. So I would, to prep this, clean the crap out of this, okay? So we're gonna leave this hanging over here till we get a new caliper, and make sure you clean this really well and lubricate it a bit. So I'll get a wire brush. What I wanna do is I just wanna clean this housing here. So when we put it back into the new caliper, it goes on smooth. Throw some greasing or WD-40 on it, and that's all you need to do. And all we need to do here is take off the two bolts off this bracket now, and everything else is out. So what I'll do is, it's a 14 millimeter, so same thing, 1 and 2. There you go. So it's loose, it's coming off. Both the bolts are kind of loose except this one in the bottom. There you go. And we have our bracket out of here. There you go. All right, so 2 bolts. Now we just wait for a new caliper. Okay, so we got a new caliper here inside. This is the driver's rear, and there's a part number here if you guys can see. But make sure you don't mistake passenger and driver side. In here we got a hardware in here, and we got a new caliper. It comes complete. Okay, usually these bolts are tight, so but just double check them. Everything is there. And to indicate this is the correct caliper, so if this caliper is on just like that, this bleeder wall has to be on the top. So if you to take it to the other side, everything will be upside down. You will never be able to bleed this caliper. So this has to be for this side. So it does come with new bolt here with the washer, special bolt with the hole right through the middle, so the fluid can travel through it. Comes with new leather washers. That's perfect. And make sure your caliper, the cross is centered out, because this this brake pad has this little notch here. It sits right in there, so make sure that's aligned properly. So let's put this baby onto the car, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna just come back over here, and we're gonna move our light to a different direction now. We got a better angle here. So there you go, that's perfect. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the two bolts, the two large bolts that was inside this bracket. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna put the caliper on first. There's these little washers. Make sure they're there, and this bracket should go on. Once we put one caliper bolt on, we should be able to remove. We should be able to remove these two bolts. You're not gonna be able to do it by hand. So what we're gonna do is gonna mount the caliper on first. It's kind of heavy, especially with the camera in front of me. It gets a little bit tough, but we have one in there. Let me see if I can grab this one in there. There you go, perfect. Now since those two are in there, it's holding on to my caliper there. So what I can do here is I can loosen this guy up, and I can loosen this guy up. Nowadays they make crappy parts. To be honest with you guys, I came across so many jobs that I had to do twice just because crappy parts, ignition coils failing, sensors failing, map sensors failing. So there you go. Once you have this off, put this to the side, and what we're gonna do now is we're gonna work on these two bolts, and we're gonna lock both of these bolts up nice and tight. This is one. Catch all the threads by hand. If you have torque specs, guys, I would go ahead and torque it. And if you don't, you can just lock up the bolts nice and tight. Take your time. We're not rushed here. We're not racing with anybody. And I'm gonna lock this bolt up real nice and tight. Bada bing, bada boom. That baby's in. Let me get this one also. My gear wrench is broken here. Snap-on guy is playing games with me. Don't worry, it discriminated me. I'm going to court with that baby. There you go. He doesn't pick up my phone calls. When the Snap-on manufacturer agent picked up when I went to complain, he picked up immediately for them. Anyway, that's that. Next step here is to take off this line. Make sure you have a bucket down below. We're gonna take off this line of this caliper. Remember, we pre-loosened this line, so it shouldn't be that hard to remove this little guy anymore. So I got my little bucket down below, my little catch pan. So it's gonna have some fluid come out through here, and then after that it might just start to drip a bit. That's fine. And there you go. This guy can simply just, you know what? Our light would have been better right here. There you go. It's better there. So this guy comes off. Small little washer. Make sure you take off these little washers off. Okay. Yeah, there you go. One fell down. So you could tap on this, okay, both sides. And that's one way to get it off, because you don't want to double up on those. Then your caliper is definitely going to leak. Make sure you clean this up. You don't need to file, buff, none of this stuff. Your bracket, your caliper's off. Let's put this baby to the side. Okay, so we're gonna get our new caliper here. So remember, on this new caliper, you're gonna get 2 washers that look something like this. There's one in my hand. So we're gonna put this baby on just like this. So make sure you know how the caliper goes. So the caliper is gonna go like in this direction, and okay, the caliper is gonna go like that. So this line is gonna be pretty much something like this. And don't forget the second washer. I was just testing that, and this guy will go on just like that. So don't worry if you're not gonna tighten it yet till it goes on. Do not forget that it needs to be tightened. So your line has to be nice and straight, okay? If you get the caliper on just like that. So make sure your line is nice and straight. And we can push this guy in right now, but we can assemble it later. That's no problem. We can also take this little guy right here and push this on right now. And all you need to do here is tap, 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 and that goes in. And all we need to do is get this in, and we're gonna do the same way like we did originally. So we're gonna let this caliper just sit right here and not bother us. Don't worry, the line's not gonna get damaged. So we do need to prep this caliper, and we do need to get our hardware here. So inside this little package, you're gonna have this big guy and these 2 little guys. So what I like to do here is on a new caliper, you could put greasing here, but a new caliper, I try not to, but this thing, they should just go right in. And make sure the water doesn't touch it, because if the water touch it, it will have a scrape, okay? So that's that, and what we're gonna do is, we're gonna grab our new brake pads. Okay, a little bit of greasing on these pads, on the tips, okay? Even though they're pre-used, that's fine. And if you want to replace the brakes and rotors at this time, this customer did it. They did a crappy job for him. But remember, one pad goes here. Hey, got it the wrong way. And it should go in nice and easy, okay? You shouldn't have to force these brakes in, okay? So remember, what we talked about, this little cross inside the caliper, the little notch has to sit properly. So now, make sure your rubber boots, these are pre-greased. So make sure your rubber boots on these are on, and calipers are pre-compressed for you. And the 2 new bolts, 1. And remember, the 2 bolts for the bracket are already tight. We don't need to worry about that. And we got another one here. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go get a gear wrench, because we're gonna have to figure that part out. Okay, we're gonna come back. I forgot the little hardware that goes in here. I was thinking too ahead of myself. So we're gonna take off this little guy. We're gonna also take off this top one here. So once both of these are off, what we're gonna do is, you're gonna take this little guy, and this little guy goes in here. Okay, it's gonna stick in here just like that, and make sure it's attached. And it's like a little retainer, so it just sits in there. It's very easy to get in there. And then it's gonna feel a little tight, so it's gonna have a preload on it, because that thing works like a spring. So we're gonna get 1 bolt. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, guys. Like I said, it's not a race, so take your time. And then we're gonna get the bottom bolt here. There you go. So I'm gonna go get a socket, because I don't no longer want to work with that broken gear wrench, which was a good tool. Now, what we're gonna do here is, Make sure you tighten both of these bolts. Sometimes this will spin with it, so you could get a wrench like a 17 millimeter, put that on. But if it doesn't spin with it, you're fine. Oh, what the hell happened here? There you go. That's one. And this is number 2. Nice and tight, okay? Again, sometimes your backing plate can touch, so make sure your backing plate is out of the way. Make sure nothing is, that's normal noise, right? That's the brake pad touching. But if you hear like a noise like that, that's your hardware touching somewhere. So, okay, my camera was out of memory, so I had to go flush it out. Anyways, double check. Double check. Make sure bleeder valve is nice and good. So this might be a different size now. It's gonna be probably number 11. We're gonna go get that. But meanwhile, let's put this in. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna go behind here and we're gonna bring this baby down. Just be careful you don't hurt yourself because it's spring loaded. And once this thing comes down, it should go right in. And remember, your e-brake is not on, so it shouldn't be grabbing nothing. So make sure when you start the job, make sure your e-brake is off. Emergency brake, that's what I mean by e-brake. So this is nice and centered out. Nothing is hitting the rotor. And we're gonna tighten this up. This is tight, that's tight. We got the little clip in there. We got the bracket bolts in. So we're gonna check this and check this. And then we go to the other side. Okay, so make sure this is nice and tight. You don't want to go crazy either. Make sure after you bleed the system, you clean and check for leaks. You should not be leaking. So nice and tight. And make sure you bleed this guy. And make sure this is tight. And you can even vent this out. Remember, we're gonna bleed it. Make sure you bleed it. That's the only thing you're not gonna see. Have somebody pump it while you open this valve up. And also check for leaks here, and make sure this is not leaking. Clean everything up. Double check all of your work. Make sure this is in. Make sure the hardware is in. We're gonna come to this side now, and the 2 bolts that are left, we're gonna put those in. Okay, let me get my tool off the floor. So now you will get a clear view of this little guy. So remember, this little guy right here, this is the bolt without the washer. So this goes here, it's a 12 millimeter. And then you got one over here. Make sure this thing sits there properly. And this is also a 12 millimeter, and it's gonna be tough to align it, but make sure you catch the threads and make sure you lock this baby up. And make sure your brake line is nice and straight all the way to the back. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna simply just tighten both of these bolts. And then I'm gonna be bleeding, but that's the part, like I said, you're not gonna see. Make sure you bleed it. Make sure you pump the brake pedal. Make sure you pull the e-brake. Everything is nice and good. Bada bing, bada boom. And this is job well done, guys. Thank you for watching my video, and stay tuned for more videos. Bye bye. All right, that's it. Thank you for watching.